Hey, good morning, guys. All my owner operators, first time owner operators to be. How you doing? It is Christian with Voyager Nation Super Trucker Podcast. Here we go. So today's switching gears a little bit on today's show. We're going to talk about first time owner operator questions, and what I actually mean by that is what you should be asking, the real truth, so you can get your truck on the road as quick as possible. So what I mean by that is if you watched any of our videos, you're constantly going to see that we always stress the importance of picking up that truck, going right to orientation, avoiding any type of situation where you fall yourself in and where you pick up a truck and you don't have anywhere to place this truck. You're killing time, you're killing momentum. It is a problem for you as you need to start cash flow to your business as quick as possible. So guys, I will have just in case we get some audio issues on the YouTube side, we will put a link right in the chat. Take it over to Facebook, as long as they don't shadow ban that. That's there. So just so you know, we are on multi social media platforms, and that's what we do. Generate. That's where we get all the questions from the public and actually address them 9 a.m. So I will say what kind of drums this today is because I've had really good meetings this week. Future owner operators, some season, I have guys with multiple trucks and so forth. So what's going to happen, it's not necessarily that some of the guys are new owner operators, but they're new fleet drivers to that individual. But nevertheless, the topic is going to be the same. The topic is going to be actually the same, and the approach is very, very, very unique, and so forth. So we're going to get right started. So one of the biggest things I want to say, guys, is going to be license surprises and hidden violations. A lot of recruiting guys actually, fall into this trap, or actually, get stuck by here, and they're going to lose momentum. So one of the big things is that when people are blindsided because of suspensions or major violations that people forgot to mention. So here's the biggest thing. In order for this to be effective, you got to understand, like, this day and age, 2025, with all the resources that are out there for everyone to be looking at, PSPs and MVRs are going to reveal the truth about what violations may have. And I do understand there are things that happen out on the road where maybe somebody feels it was unjust. He was just a victim of a circumstance, and that DOT officer lit him up, and whatever the backstory may be. All right, the blemish is there, so it's definitely worth talking about. That's one of the biggest things that you have to pay attention, because and I'm not saying this for the carrier. I'm actually trying to help the guy who's looking, the first time owner operator. If you do have these blemishes, what you want to do is, there is no time to waste. You want to be upfront as quick as possible, because that transparency is going to save you a tremendous amount of time, right? Because what's going to happen if you don't do so, your search for that company to onboard you is going to become extremely overwhelming, because you're going to be talking about everything in the programs that exist, and what type of lanes, what's this, the dispatch. You're going to tell your backstory. You're going to let them know how long you've been in the business. You're going to let them know what made you decide to buy a truck. So imagine an entire day of all of that, but you constantly are dancing around the fact that you have a reckless on an MVR or a DUI or whatever the situation may be, and all of that conversation is wasted. So part of becoming that first time owner operator is becoming that business minded individual. This is B2B. This is business to business at this point. So in order to be more effective and improve your search for that right company that's going to fit, that's going to be that right fit for you, you have to be honest, and you have to put that on the table, right? So guys, don't look at it as an effectiveness. I get it. Maybe some big mega carriers out there are just going to click, hang that phone up because they can't, they're like, I can't even use this cat, and probably stop communicating or whatnot. But again, don't look at that as a roadblock. Actually, effectiveness and efficiency, you're not wasting time there. You're actually searching for that proper place that's going to be able to take you. Because remember, the name of the game is to get your truck moving as quick as possible. And that's one of the biggest things that people lose sight of. So do pay attention to that. So if you do happen to have any suspensions or anything on your motor vehicles and all of that, on the MVR rather, make sure you're talking about that up front. So one of my biggest lines usually when guys are calling and they're like, hey, Christian, what's your requirement? I'm like, it's pretty easy, guys. 2 years experience. And then the guy will say, all right, but what about the MBR or the PSP? Well, my next question is pretty much, I just want to ease the room up, nice, slow down on the tension there. And I'll say, all right, man, here's the easiest way to break this down. What are you concerned about? What's on the PSP that got you asking? What's on that MVR that got you asking, and so forth. And then we'll talk about that. I mean, I've had plenty of situations where, I got a fleet owner speaking for a fleet driver. Hey, but it's not that bad. But the problem is, have you ever seen that MVR? No, I have not. Okay, so here we go. Not everybody is going to be forthcoming about the violations or what's transpiring because he's just trying to get a job, right? And so here we go. So these are the things that really are going to improve your search. Although it sounds maybe counterproductive at some time, just banking on that somebody's going to overlook that. I think you're just going to overwhelm yourself, and that's not the way to go. It's all right. I'm sure you're going to find something. It's just about making your search more effective and being upfront about what happens next. I can't explain how many times I've been in orientations where, this is right around when Clearinghouse came out, and then people popped on that Clearinghouse, and I've had people, a guy flew a guy from Texas, and I would go, we're all in this room and it's like crazy awkward. But again, the guy was hoping that nobody would find out. So guys, make sure that you're approaching that first time owner operator. It's, violations are not at the end of the world. It's just your approach in order to improve your expectations. So that's the number one, one of the things that you should be paying attention to. So another thing, right? As I'm doing these meetings, as we're meeting these guys that are going to be buying these trucks, we're not only talking about, hey, the back office paperwork stuff of, how you're going to get this truck off the lot, physical damage, the bobtail, the plates, and everything that comes along with taking that, letter of intent and all of that good stuff. Hey, good morning. Good morning, sir. How are you? We're talking that back office stuff on there. We're also approaching it as to what this guy might be looking for. So, unrealistic expectations. So one of the things for this is you have to decide ahead of time, right? So one of the things is, are you going to do OTR? Is somebody doing the regional? Is somebody, on my opinion alone, I wouldn't buy a truck to go do local. That's not what I would do. But anyway, is that what this person's going to be doing? So the first thing you have to decide is that, because a lot of the times I get people that are going to come in, or I have people asking, you're comparing apples to oranges at this point, right? You're calling in and you're like, hey, what's the top dog make? Or what's the average guy? But if you don't even know how that average guy is running or what the top dog is doing, what does that actually matter? So how does that help your search? I'm just trying to help your business here. So how does that help the initiation of your business and getting a realistic expectation as to how you're going to run, right? Because you probably already have a typical pattern, or you probably already made a decision how you're going to be running. So the idea behind it is, I'm not saying don't be adaptable. That's always, that would be counterproductive. I am saying be adaptable, but you can't, you have to have a realistic expectation, because if a recruiter is just really quickly changing your mind from being regional to, okay, now you're going to run all over the place, that's good for that moment, but right after orientation, you're going to say, nah, man, wifey said I got to run this way or whatever. Sometimes it's wifey, sometimes it's other commitments that we have. You're going to change your plan again. The problem with that is going to be that now the expectations are lost. Now that recruiter maybe probably lied to you even, right? Because now it's not what you thought, and we're changing our mind within a very short time period. So the idea behind it is like, okay, let's make a decision. We're going to buy a truck. Not only are we buying this truck, right? So after we buy this truck, how am I running my business? How am I going to be 2 weeks out, 3 weeks out? What is my plan? I have a master plan on paper. As a matter of fact, I probably had to tell people like Lone Mountain what my plan is going to be. I know SFI wants to know these things. So if you're actually getting trucks through them, they're actually asking you for this type of information. So not only are you there, now you have to stick to this bad boy. You have to be able to be consistent to work your plan. So, because the reality is that the success of it is going to depend on your discipline, communication, and planning. And communication, control what you can, your communication. Control what you can, your planning, and your discipline. You cannot change the game in the ninth inning, my people. You have to be able to stick it out for at least the first three months. Work your plan to start seeing some kind of pattern to it, some kind of repetition to it, and that's going to allow you to then make an adjustment on some concrete, factual outcomes that you've had by working your plan, right? So do pay attention to that, right? I think a lot of recruiters are going to struggle out there explaining the true business partnership. I do think that that's what happens. So if you're indecisive as to what you want and you're just kind of like shopping no man's land and you already have a truck in the parking lot, that's in your driveway rather, that's what this video is about, is trying to avoid you being in that situation. You want to start making these phone calls ahead of time before that even happens, right? So, and the reason I'm highlighting this is because, again, I've had several meetings in this week, and pretty good people, but there's no real clarity to what the guy actually wanted. It was like almost, what's the top dog guy, what's the middle guy making, but that's not enough information, right? Because what's happening is, what are you willing to do to make money? It's not so much what my guys are doing to generate those type of settlements. It's, we got to start with the basis of how are you going to run a real consistent plan, something that you can really commit to no matter what happens, ups and downs. What is it that you're willing to do? Because now you can actually peg that to some of the guys that are running on the fleet in that type of pattern. It's not so much just window shopping where like, what does this guy do? What does that guy do? If you're not willing to do those things, why even look, right? Why even look at what that guy is doing? If you're not willing to be 3 months out at a time, 2 months out at a time, why are we looking at that? All right. So that's another important part of it. Another thing is, some of these guys do sign up for a couple weeks, hit one slow week, one tough load, and then they bail. And I think what happens is that frustration is generated from the lack of asking the proper questions, the lack of actually understanding owner operator business. Although it came from a company driver mindset, you now have to adapt the business owner operator mindset. And what happens is you could put that bad boy into practice before you even buy your first truck. So what's going to happen is while you're making these phone calls, client, we definitely have a comment. Your dispatcher has to be on the same page as well. Yeah, 100%. So while we're doing this, it's you can actually start making these phone calls prior to even having the truck, right? You're sharpening your skills, but you're also you're honing in. You're actually you're being direct to what you're going to be looking for in all aspects, of knowing what your safety record looks like. You have to be honest with yourself. Yes, everybody is looking for owner operators, but you have to understand that the more blemishes you have on that, then what's going to happen is you don't really have that ability to pick whoever you want to run for, because they have requirements that are set forth by insurance. They got some safety standards. So, just because you buy a truck, it doesn't mean you're going to have access to all of these. Now, if you have an owner, if you have a really good safety record, now you have an open door. Now you have, a lot more opportunities to do that. You just got to know where you're standing. That's the point of what I'm talking about. So being honest with those things, and also having that expectation, for the guys that just run a couple weeks, tough loads, this, that, and then all of a sudden you bail. So what happens is you're going to get caught. Well, avoid getting caught up in the rut where you spend more time bailing, more time always planning, more time going through an orientation, more time, you perfected the craft of being this, uh, always, always in some kind of orientation every single quarter. You're never going to build consistency that way. You're not giving the system, the product, enough time or an opportunity to work out in your favor. You're never building any type of rapport, and you don't have consistency for yourself. You're not showing up. We're always in this vicious cycle, just hoping that a little bit of luck is gonna fall on your side, and all of a sudden it's just magical loads and this magical outcome. So the grit has to be a little bit more than that, my people. I see it happen throughout the years in business, time and time and time again. And what happens is we have the same problems probably before I even got into trucking. So this is what's this is what the reality is, right? So some business owners don't have that level of patience, right? Because they're not giving that opportunity for something to stay with it, right? So if we had to look at it, right? So let's say the growth is like this. The minute something goes wrong, boom, you're just back to the starting point. You give it a couple weeks, you fall in love with with some kind of sign-on bonus or dedicated work, and now you think that's going to be the place to be, and then all of a sudden back to the drawing board when whatever dedicated work didn't have rates because of tariffs or whatever it is, and now you're not the one getting the loads, and now all of a sudden that's the horrible place to be. And also when and why I think this is valuable in talking about this, because even in our meetings when we're sitting here talking, right? So guys telling me about, I'm asking him how he likes to run, right? And the biggest focal point is telling me how long he's been in the game. And I appreciate that for sure, has the experience. But that's not telling me how he wants to run. That's not telling me what his current expectations are. I get you got 25 plus years in the game, million miler, cool, that's great. But how can I help here, right? I need to know what this individual needs in order so I can produce and I can hit and I can whether it's going to be a good business fit or not. So that's what I'm saying. These questions have to be hyper focused to what you're looking for. It has to be hyper focused onto what are the key factors that are going to make you successful, right? Because trucking is going to happen. I got Klein on here doing a comment. You have to be somewhere at least a year, unless it is bad that you can't do it and ride it out. So here we go. I definitely appreciate that 100%. You have to be somewhere a year because trucking is going to happen. Is there cancel loads? Yeah, it's going to happen to everybody. I don't care what carrier you're going to go to. I don't care if it's dedicated work. Like, you're going to get to a point where you got 7 dedicated drivers in line and there's only 5 dedicated loads to go out, and you're going to have a problem, right? And now you're going to have to deal with that. So trucking is going to happen to everybody. So that's what I'm saying. So the conversation I'm having with the individual is trying to, he's kind of comparing everything wherever the guy's been burnt, and then trying to make sure that doesn't get replicated. So I understand that every step you're taking, every painful, adventure, even for us, both on the carrier side, both on the owner operator side, we go learning as we go. But not necessarily should you be asking, let's just take this one question, for example, the individual actually said, "What happens if I'm held at the actual shipper, and for 8 hours, what's the layover? Because maybe he didn't get paid for a layover, whatever his experience is, right?" So I get that part, but it should also be, why? Tell me more about your situation. Tell me more about how you got stuck at that shipper. I need to know those details so I can tell you how we're going to react, right? Because it's not about, oh my God, I got you 150 on a layover. That's not solving the real issue. You're not really getting a transparency view as to how that carrier handles the situation, right? If they tell you, yeah, we pay it, well, that's freaking great, nice. But what about the back office stuff? Like, why are we still waiting there, right? So then, as I pick my man's brain, he'll tell me a little bit more about it. Did he show up late? Did that cause it? Did, you know, is this their dedicated customer? And turns out it is. And so now here we go. So the idea is, that's why we don't do that, because so here's what happened. No matter where you go, if anybody doing dedicated, man, I'm telling you right now, like, they rather lose the owner operator than the account. Period. Anybody want to, it can't. If you had that, that's what would happen. So that's why you stayed there. So when you have a versatile dispatcher, when he can move things around, and if you're waiting for that long, unless that is the best plan as possible, right? We got to stay open minded. Unless that is absolutely the best plan on the table, because everything else doesn't quite fit the time for your reload, and there's nothing else to really recover it with, then you're going to fight that fight. But if you can totally avoid that and fight it, and just get a truck order not used, get something else, and then go, then we're going to do that. And that's versatile, because a good dispatcher can understand that, can understand the long game, can understand how to make you win. And not the answer won't be the same every single time, because every problem is going to be different. Every problem brings different variables: hours of service, how much time on the clock, how much is the reload, how much are we, how much on the 7 do I still have left? Can I create a new pickup time with that reload, or change the delivery? What's on this Raycon? So many variables to every situation. I think, like, it's almost like there's no two situations that are identical. And again, we got you know uh, so here we go. We got a comment. Unfortunately, most people are not with the carrier long enough to get the most out of it. If they keep bouncing around, they're going to run out of resources. Yes, for sure. And what's going to happen is also, to piggyback on that, is a psychological part of you growing extremely frustrated at your business plan, that it's not generating the revenue. This is not what you dreamed about. This was not in the brochure. And it's also frustrated towards the carrier. Are they all the same? The brokers, the shippers. And so this level of frustration, but it's really that you're not you got to create that stableness to start solving problems, identifying what's not working for you, and realistically finding a solution for those things. Because as we talk about, like, it's not that a $5 a mile load is going to solve all your problems, right? You got to understand that this industry is volatile. Some certain regions pay at certain times of the year and moving you around. So just because talking about that, that's the important part. So move on to the next comment. Layover has no fixed rate. You used to get 250 to 1,500 per day until weak people came in, and now everyone is acting like 150 is a standard. Yeah, for sure. So everything should remain negotiable, and that's what you're scouting for, right? But going from one carrier to the next, just because somebody's layover is 250 as opposed to somebody can get you 150, right? Like, why is that a decision maker? Why is that like a reason to move to someone? As a matter of fact, I would have a question. I would say, why is your layover 250? Is this happening all the time? Is so you combat this by, like, just overpaying on this end, and how do you generate that revenue from that? Because I know for a fact that, if the load is $1,000 and, and you have to pay out 1,200 on it, you can only do that for a set amount of time. So, for me, that would be an alarm. Why is you paying a higher layover a recruiting tactic? How often is that happening here? Right. So, but these are questions, you should come up with, you should pay attention to. But for example, somebody hyper focused on something just like a layover, right? I've been doing this a long time, my people, and all I'm really doing is sharing my experiences of everything I've seen along the way, so that you can hone in and ask the right questions. I've seen even individuals where, like, they'll jump for literally 3 cents on 3 cents more on a lane, but like that's it. And and you think you're moving, but you're not seeing everything that changes along with that, right? Now he's always this job hopper. uh at some point, that DQ file, it doesn't look good. So now you got big boy carriers that will start to say no more than 3 jobs in the last 3 years. Boom. Now you can't even go into that arena. And I'm not saying stay in an ugly place. I'm more on the fence with Klein, right? Giving something some time, giving something that year, seeing what you can address, seeing if you can find that sweet spot. But just job hopping, I've seen guys job hop for sign-on bonuses. Like, my dudes, like, when are you even getting paid for those sign-on bonuses? Like, I almost think, like, man, like, a sign-on bonus is kind of like, yo, it is that bad here that, shit is that bad that I need y'all to come here. I'm gonna pay y'all to come here. Because, I mean, think about it. This is business to business. Like, what, and are those sign-on bonus even real? All they're really intended to do is, I'm just here to call a spade, right? They're just intended to try to keep you there for the 90 days, or for whatever certain amount of period it takes to pay that out. But what are they really trying to do? They're trying to keep you there long enough, right? To For consistency to happen, for things to fall into place, for things to kind of start working out, so you can develop a pattern, and you're almost, they're dangling this carrot in front of you to do what I'm telling you to do, for you to do anyway. And you're not stuck in this facade of, like, this sign-on bonus thing. So guys, I've seen it all, man. I've seen guys who are professional sign-on bonus collectors. That's what they do. I don't even think they're in it for trucking. Do not become that guy. I have seen it. I have also seen guys who ghost. Don't become that guy as well. It's almost kind of in the same bucket, just always calling around, and never really executing. I get you have to make a proper decision, but if you're gonna make one, then you're gonna make one. Have that business plan, have a day of execution, plan accordingly. It is so monumental to the success of your business. So, again, honing in on the questions that you're asking and why you're asking them is so important. All right, going to the comments here. So here we go. Yep, that's crazy. I got 150 for a tonal fee for sitting at a shipper for 2 hours. Here you go. If a dispatcher is good for real, not just talking layovers, is a very rare event. Can be avoided 90% of the time with experience. Absolutely. That is definitely for sure. Guess where sign-on bonuses come from? Let's put it in the comments. Where do they come from, guys? I got a different comment here. 100%. There is always something. Yeah, for sure. So here we go. Don't just focus in on those shiny objects that are out there, guys. You really got to know what your business plan is going to be, how we're going to execute it, and have real expectations on what you're willing to do. And so then that comes in. That's where we step in. I do want to say that the beauty about it is the versatility that we have, where we guys can go OTR, drop it to regional, just by communicating with your dispatcher here. So that's the beauty about that. Your business has that option to do so. You can turn that on when you need it. You can kind of scale it back when needed. All you got to do is just have the proper communication with your dispatcher, as long as you're planning it ahead of time. Guys, make sure you give a smash that like button. Helps the algorithm get this content in front of the right people, and those right people are going to be the first time owner operators, or even my seasoned guys out there. For sure the video hits you guys as well. However, if you're searching for a new carrier and to level up your business, we're here to help out. But again, what the goal here is to make sure that this, how did we get these new guys coming in to win at this game called trucking? That is really what we have to focus on, so to improve this entirety for all of us. All right. So again, we do talk about that retention isn't just pay. I don't know. I know this is a I know this is a major topic for a lot of people. I do agree it's not just rate per mile, and what I mean by that, I have seen, along the lines, I've seen guys get lost where, you know you get that dispatcher agreeing with the owner operator, and now these two guys are just looking for rate per mile, just rate per mile. And now you're in Nevada on a freaking Friday 4 o'clock with no reload, and you sit for the weekend, and just because the dispatcher wanted to please you with your magical rate per mile request, and it led you to the middle of nowhere, and now holistically your week is shot. And again, it's about creating the goals. It's about talking about, what is the net, what is the cost to your business, how much is this new truck going to be on a monthly basis, right? Added with the insurance, with all the permits, with all that, what is that magic number that is going to be, your cost? Let's divide that bad boy by 4. Now we know what your weekly cost is going to be. Shit, you can even divide it daily. It's however deep you want to go, my people. But now that you have that fixed cost, now your business plan should be dancing around that. That is not some feelings as to what you think might work, or wifey wants me home every weekend. Cool. But even so, in planning, if that's a thing, calculate those numbers then before you buy this truck. Does this shit even make sense? You have to consider all of these things prior to it. So again, I'm not telling anybody what to do. I am just mentioning that honing in on the real questions, having these real business discussions, because everybody says they can have them, but they cannot. So really practicing the art on that, so that you can see whether this bad boy is actually for you or not, right? Because the problem is not going to go away. Right. If here, I've been in this business a long time, and I'm only saying that because I'm sharing the experiences. I've definitely seen situations where, we kind of ignore what's on the table. The guy's like, nah, yeah, I'll do it, blah, blah, blah. And then he does it. And now 3 weeks later, he has to pick between his marriage and making enough money to sustain his business. You put yourself there, dog. You put yourself there. You see what I'm saying? Like, you have to be able to have these conversations up front. You have to know exactly, what your hard lines are. And then now you have a realistic expectation. You have a realistic understanding of where you're going to be. And then sometimes, I'm not going to lie to people, it is better for that individual to stay as a company driver. He will lose less. It will be more productive for that thing. This thing that owner operator is not for everybody. So let's get that out of the way. It's for a certain breed. It's for a certain type of individual. It's for that individual that wants to grind it out and be better. But a comment here: half owner operators would get heart attack if they would try to evaluate their business model. Yeah, that could, how often are you looking under the hood? This is what it is, because although buying a truck is a great accomplishment, my hat goes off to you guys. But that's just the beginning. That's not the end. And really understanding and honing in onto these questions is what's going to make you a lot more successful, guys. So don't just get caught up in the fluff. Every trucking company is going to have a type of rhythm to it, right? Not all of them are built equal. Not all of them have the same goal. Not all of them, are going to operate the same. So you got to find the one that's going to match your speed, to hit your goals. Sometimes to hit your goals, you have to level up your speed. You might have to go up a couple notches. So you have to consider that as well. So now you got to be realistic with yourself. Like, man, am I really willing to do all of this shit for this kind of money? So now you have to make that decision, and don't just think it's going away, because it's going to come back to haunt you, because we are creatures of habit, and we're going to go back to what we know. And the quicker you go back to what you know, now you're not aligned with your expectations anymore, because the effort you're putting into this is no longer matching the expectation, right? So your effort went down, so does that expectation level, but the bills are the same, and this is where it falls apart, right? The cost to do business monthly remains the same. If anything goes up, the cost of business to do weekly is going to be the same. The cost to do, for your operation on a daily basis is the same. And you have to make those adjustments, because let's say, like we just talked about, you know what your breakdown is on a weekly basis. You take a week off, be with the family, cool. But now your cost went up, because what happens is the 3 weeks that you're going to be running now have to absorb the week that you're off. So, understanding these things, it definitely helps move the needle. Pay attention, guys. For anybody there, first-time owner operator, got questions of things just like this, 863-342-5171. Please give us a call. Definitely available to answer any of the questions you may have. Going back to the comments here, just keep everybody in the loop. All my Facebook people, we got comments on the YouTube side, so let's share these comments, and so we're all educating ourselves. So we got, by the way, free evaluation, call, schedule in person. Here we go. Learn from professionals, absolutely, and no medical advice. Nah, I'm not doing any of that. I'm just a guy in trucking, man. So I'm just trying to avoid people getting hurt. That's all I'm trying to do here. All right, so we agree retention isn't just pay. It comes down to what kind of and it's not that just people didn't keep their promises, right? Because it's not just that. Like, I get it. In this day and age, everybody wants their money back because somebody didn't keep their promise. Hold on to that receipt. But again, hold yourself accountable. Did you do everything that you said you were going to do? Even if you have a real reason why you had to, bring it back and not OTR now, or not do as many miles or whatever, or somebody has to go local because of a family matter. I'm not taking away from that. I'm not saying that is not important, but it still affects your outcome. So, the industry is not forgiving enough, and that's not enough to offset, what your expectations. So you have to understand that your expectations are going to be affected by that. So it's not necessarily that, anybody broke a promise to you, but at the same time, if you've changed your effort, if you've changed your discipline that you're willing to do, then you got to expect the changes that are coming along with that. All right. So, yeah, that's what happens. And so sometimes now the grass is greener on the other side, right? Because you hear somebody else is making more money, maybe doing it the way you're doing, or now that guy looks, he's doing better than you. And again, is he? He's in the same market as you are. How much is going to change if you didn't actually give it a fair maxed effort of a year? How do you actually know? Right. And I always say that don't count anybody else's money. Just focus on yourself, sharpening your craft, sharpening your ability. It's okay to have conversations with other individuals to improve and learn and grow. That's absolutely true. But don't get caught up into this just job hopping, BS. And now you're losing on all kinds of levels. All right. And so here we go. So one of the things that I would say is, as you're looking out there, my people, is how you're going to be structuring your business. So what are some of the liabilities that you're going to be taking off your plate that are your must-haves, right? So paying attention to that, like access to the fuel cards, that's a major component to your business, because it is, it is one of the most expensive things that is going to be associated to your business. The cost of fuel, like that is major. So, just because somebody will get you home whenever you want, Oh, excuse me 1 second. Just because somebody got a sign-on bonus or gets you home whenever you want, just say the word. How does that help you on your fuel expense? Right? They're kind of dangling that carrot like that, so the way we do it, boom, 2 fuel cards, max out on your savings, do your homework, trip plan accordingly, fuel where it's going to matter. I got guys saving 400 a week times 4, man, that's a truck payment, but I've met people that never open a fuel app. They think it's just BS, and I think that's money on the table. So pay attention to that. That's extremely important. And not plates. Are you going to be doing your own? Are you jumping on a carrier plate? Trailers. Are what's the plan with that? Are you trying to get your own? Are you trying to use the trailer from the company? Really dissecting these things that have value to you, that are going to be very important to your business, especially as a startup. Right. And just this week I met a gentleman from Orlando. He's got the will. He's got moxie. This guy's going to get into this no matter what. He's going to be successful, hands down. But again, I appreciate, how do I say it, man? I'm just saying he's got a good plan, got the good idea. He sees the big picture. He wants to eventually do his own thing. Right. But own authority and all of that good stuff. But he's in the midst of doing it all right now, without having a full understanding of how everything works. So as we're chopping it up, he's asking a couple questions. I'm answering them. I ask him a couple questions that he doesn't know the answer to, and I'm like, "Oh, this is what I'm talking about. Like, why would you want to get hurt like this right now? Because I understand you have purchasing power. Nobody's taking that from you. But why does everything have to happen in one day if you've never even dispatched before? What about allotting yourself the time frame to learn the craft? Now, here's what I'm talking about. It just depends on who's in front of you. You can have a driver who's been in that seat for 20 years or whatever. Let's dumb it down. Let's limit that. Like, let's say 6 years, but just takes every single load and never asked a question to why, never paid attention to what markets he's going through. He's just in it for that, right? Collecting the money, and he never really had the intent to go beyond that. So he's not paying attention to anything other than that. That's one kind of guy. But now that very 6 years could be very different for somebody else who has bigger plans than that, right? And either plan is good. It just depends on what your needs are. But that's what I'm saying. Your needs. You have to identify what you're trying to do. And now you can allot yourself, like, all right, man, I've seen people do this for a year and then, branch out and do their own thing and be very successful. So that is definitely possible. It just depends on the individual that is trying to make it happen. It's not the same cookie cutter for everybody. We all learn at different speeds. We catch on differently. Some people will be better at certain things than others. It's just the way things go. Just identifying what your strengths are, leveraging that, giving yourself some exposure, having self-awareness, because a lot of this, man, is self-awareness. Like, you don't have to go through a lot of this pain as long as you have awareness around yourself, right? So if you're looking at others making mistakes, you're looking how they ended up, you're kind of saying, like, all right, man, I was kind of on board with the idea of what he was trying to do, but look how that ended, right? So now, pay attention. So let's say you have a guy that's just because we were talking about it, always looking for that sign-on bonus. Always telling you, hey, I only run if they're paying this much minimum. But then check him out. What's his truck look like? What's the momentum look like for him? How effective is it to be doing that, from jumping from carrier to carrier, right? It's the same anything else, right? Like, we all have, like anybody that works anywhere, any normal job, like how is job hopping effective? Right? How can you build? What's the foundation? So paying attention to those details is for sure going to matter to your success. You just have to know what you want. You have to know that, and not just surface level. I want to be successful. No, man. Like, what's the freaking plan? What are you willing to do to be successful? I always talk about this on some other stuff. Like, business owners is really like, man, like, how much shit am I willing to fucking take and eat before, like, in order to be successful? So there we go. We all have different needs. We all have different expectations. So as you're looking, my people, make sure you're honing in on the proper questions to identify exactly if that carrier is going to be for you. We are here. We are available. Do give us a call at 863-342-5171. We are on standby to take your call. And better yet, actually, I gotta, I'm really excited that a lot of people do take advantage of of our open door policy. It's also because we are located in the mecca of trucking, right in Mulberry, which is a couple, you throw a rock and hit Lakeland, right off of 60 and 37. Plenty of truck parking. So we do have a lot of people that have stopped by, come in, we chop it up, show some sample settlements. They talk with our dispatch. Now, I will say, you're not going to get just yes sirs here. You're going to get real expectations. Even in our last meeting, it was exactly that. The individual, talks a lot about his expectations, and we just say, hey, here's what we can do. Here's what the market is, and here we go. And so it's real talk, and that's the value to that, because you get to meet the ops, the dispatcher, and as you're meeting all these people, you actually identify, is this company in sync? Are the people on the same page? Is everybody striving for the same, which is your success, right? Because it's built that way. All right, especially on how we do it. It's a 75-25 split if you're actually looking to use one of our trailers. All right, if you got your own trailer, cool. That's an 85%. So we got a little bit of something for everyone, and every dispatch is customized to the individual in their capacity and their ability to do so. But again, taking advantage of our compliance on the safety side, you're getting that. There's so many things that bring value to the table. But again, it starts with what you're looking for and how to become successful. So, moral of the story, my people, as you're purchasing these trucks for the very first time, and you've decided, you made the hardest thing was to decide. So you've done that. Now you got to stay committed to your journey, and picking the right carrier is going to be a big portion of that. And again, so if you are looking for that truck, guys, do not fall into that where you buy a truck and then it's parked until you find a carrier. Start your homework as soon as possible. And if people aren't willing to answer questions because you don't have a truck just yet, that's definitely the wrong place for you. Do give us a call, 863-342-5171. So we are here to help out. Just do so, my people. Smash that like button. It helps the algorithm get this video in front of the right people, and let's make that happen. All right, so that's what I got for today. With no further ado, please be safe, drive safe. I do got to get to my day job, but I just wanted to drop this video, and I will see you tomorrow 9 a.m. And guys, 3180 Mulford Road, Mulberry, Florida. Stop by. It's always nice to meet individuals in person, shake a hand, and it gets you an ability to come inside the facility, check my trailers out. It's a very tangible experience. You get to view some settlement sheets as to what our guys are doing in the current weeks. And then hopefully we lock it down and do some business. Hopefully you like what you hear. We like what we hear, and we shake hands. All right, guys. So do take advantage of that. I will be looking forward to anybody stopping by. Other than that, be safe, drive safe, and we will talk to you guys soon.